Hello, 45 Alpha Charlie Papa channel, and today we're going to take a look at a pair of Uberti 1851 Navy replicas. Now, these are patterned after the 1851 Navies, but I would kind of call these more of a fantasy replica than what was actually available back in the day. First off, these are chambered in 44 caliber. The 1851 Navy was never really chambered in 44 caliber. A majority of what was out there with the Army and with civilian use was 36 caliber. There were a few 34 calibers out there, and according to research that I've looked into anyway, there was a handful of 40 calibers made. They're the rarest of them all. 40 calibers for the Navy, I believe it was, for Navy trials, but they didn't go into regular production. So first off, we've got a 44 caliber where a 36 caliber should be. There are also brass frames. For Uberti, brass frame means a Confederate revolver, and that's just kind of some of the lore that's come down over the years. We're talking, this is 170 years ago. So some of the lore was that the Confederates were melting down bells and stuff to make firearms and frames of firearms. If there were some, they were very, very few and far between. There may have been a couple manufacturers using brass frames. You know, a lot of brass was used on the handles, on the trigger guards, maybe some of the sights and stuff, but steel was generally used for the frames on these revolvers, even in the Confederacy. So that's another one of those kind of stories that's out there, but it's not necessarily true. They also talk about, with the brass frames, they get frame stretch. Actually, it's really not frame stretch. What happens is that the cylinder here, from the blast, the continuous blast, the pawls on the back of this cylinder dig into the front of the shield here. And eventually it digs in deep enough that you get a gap. You get a gap here. So it's not the frame stretching. It's actually the steel embedding itself into the brass on the back side. Now, I have seen people, some gunsmiths out there, who will go ahead and mill out that area where that pawl is, put a steel bushing in there, and that solves the problem. If you were to shoot these enough to shoot them loose, you've put a lot of rounds through them. I mean, they're not generally going to just do that with, you know, a little bit of shooting here and there. Very fun guns to shoot. Very prolific in the Old West, in the frontier. A lot of people had these. A lot of famous people used 1851 Navies. Wild Bill Hickok here, for example. Buffalo Bill Cody, Doc Holliday, Ulysses S. Grant, all carried 1851 Navies. So they're a very popular revolver. The only one that was more popular for Colt was the pocket revolver. You'll also notice these are a little bit shorter than normal. Most of the times these are going to have more like a 7-inch barrel on them. These have been cut down to right around 5.5 or so. And that's kind of designates it. Now, this was done after the fact. These weren't from the Uberti factory that way, although they do make them. That basically makes these a sheriff's model. And the lore on that is that with that shorter barrel, they can put it in a regular holster, make it look like it had a 7 or 8-inch barrel, but be able to draw leather quicker. So it would throw their opponent off a little bit. If they were carrying a 6 or 7-inch revolver and the sheriff had one that was only 4 inches, he could clear leather a little bit faster. So that's another lore out there. I don't know exactly how true that is, but that's kind of the mystique of these guns and, you know, these shorter barreled versions. The other thing you'll notice, I've named these. This is Wiley. This one's Coyote. Wiley's a little Wiley's a little used. He's had a lot of abuse over the years. It does not have the Texas Navy scene on the cylinder, while Coyote does. Kind of probably playing more to that Confederate myth. You know, they wouldn't have put the Texas Navy on there. You know, they were just trying to produce firearms as fast as they could. So this one does not have the mural on it. This one does. This one was told at one time it would never shoot again, but it actually shoots fairly well. It's a little bit corroded, a little bit pitted, but surprisingly it shoots decent. This one is more of a newer gun. It hasn't had a whole lot of rounds through it, although when you get to the range footage, she was being a little particular. Anyway, that's enough of me talking about these at the moment. Let's go to the range, let's shoot these a little bit, and then we'll come back and give you my thoughts on them. Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Well, we got them dirty, so we might as well finish off what we had left for balls. All right, we are back from the range, and these are really a joy to shoot. They're fun to shoot. They're really conversation piece when you're at the range. You know, people are seeing all the smoke and the sparks, and you know, seeing you taking your time getting these loaded. For the most part, they went off without a hitch. I did have one hiccup early with Coyote here, and then the last shot with Coyote, the primer went off. I tried 5 different primers, never could get that cylinder to go off. So we'll go to the bench here real quick. I'll show you how I got that out, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, we got the ball stuck in there. Gonna have to do this the hard way. Usually just pull the nipple and pull it out, but unfortunately I forgot my nipple wrench at the old gunsmith's. So that's something I'll have to do here in the next week when I get when I go down there. But I've got a little spring-loaded punch here, so you can stick it in there and, you know, make a dimple. I found a nice coarse screw, and we'll just screw that into the lead, and then pull the ball out. Once the ball's out, we can dig the rest of the junk out of there. There's that Wonder Wad, but you can see in there where those nipples are starting to close up, especially on like this one here. Where you see a little light, but a little bit of this Wonder Wad lube gets down in there and stuck between the powder and the hole, and there's where you end up with your problem. So all right, we got this, so we can take it off and clean it. But I just thought I'd show you an alternate way of getting the ball out of there if you end up getting one stuck. Screw it out. What I was shooting today was these Pyrex pellets. Now, I don't these are kind of fun. It was nice to have them because if you're, just going for a short range trip, these are a little bit more handy than actually getting powder. They work pretty decent. Once these are gone, I'm not going to buy any more. I will use powder. And then I'm using these Revolver Wonder Seals, these Oxyoke Originals. The problem I have with the Wonder Seals is these are not a felt Wonder Seal. They're more of like a wax ring. And after about 2 loadings, you start getting a little bit of buildup of this in there that it doesn't all burn off. And that's what happened with the round in this one, is that this wax got, when I put the next pellet in, it pushed a little bit of the excess wax that was around the cylinder in front of the nipple hole, and I couldn't get spark through it. So that's why I had the malfunction. These both have the Manhattan conversion done to them. If you're interested in that, that'll be up here. That's where it kind of closes the gap here in the hammer and keep you from getting the cap jam. So I've got a video out on solving the cap jam. I didn't have any issues with cap jam in these revolvers in this range trip. So they are fun. I really like them. Let's take a little quicker look at the guns themselves, kind of give you an overview of them. But overall, it was a fun day at the range, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have just a nice, relaxing, fun day. But let's take a little closer look at these revolvers. All right, we have got Wiley here, and you can see, open this up, there's no caps in there, so we are empty. That's kind of what Wiley is, a little wily. It doesn't like to spin at half cock. There we go. You got to have it in just the right position, but we are clear. You can see the Manhattan conversion we've got going on down there. An interesting note on these, if you look on the back of the hammer here, or the top of the hammer, you've got a notch here. That's your rear sight. It's really interesting that you have a rear sight on a movable hammer here, but they actually shoot pretty well. These have got a dovetailed front sight on them. Not a big deal there. They would have had kind of a welded sight on them originally, but these are dovetailed in. Very short, crisp trigger pull. They're single action, so as single actions go, they are really nice. But they are just a beautiful, fun revolver. Take out to the range. I think the biggest drawback on them is when you bring them home, you need to clean them that night. They can't sit. They really shouldn't sit overnight. Maybe overnight, first thing in the morning. That might be about as far as you push it. You can probably get, if you take these to the range, you can take some Windex or Simple Green, maybe spray them down a little bit before you wipe them down before you put them in your bag. But you really need to clean these. You see, as this one's aged, the brass is starting to patina here. We don't have that scroll mark in here. She's just kind of a neat weathered replica at this point. Well, this is 45 Alfa Charlie Papa channel. I thought I'd bring these out, show them to you. They're a fun gun. It was just nice to go out and shoot these. A blast to really shoot. I'm out.